I got some ready.
All right, so we're back, still working on Ganoqa. And what we're going to do today is enter a little bit more text to try to solve a few more words.
And I'm Tyler. And this is
Greetings, Langaroos.
Hello.
All right, so a little bit of an awkward start there, but we're making it work. All right, so if you look at my screen here, you can see this is the Ganoqa text. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make this a little smaller. Oop, too small. Zoom menu's in the way. Going to open up our story of the clan.
Oh.
Look at our baseline. We were in paragraph 3. Our last one was Garigua. And because Tyler has marked the paragraph for each one,
Oh, actually, go. Sorry, go ahead.
It's
Let's
fairly.
not grab it, though.
What's that?
Let's not grab it from the spreadsheet though. We've got that Word doc called Ganoqa 1.
Oh, all right. Is
Google Drive.
Is it in there?
Should be in that same folder. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So just scroll down a bit there.
There's 3.
So 4 is ready to go there too.
4.
This should avoid that weirdness with the font or the format, whatever it was that we.
There's paragraph 4.
I hope. You might actually, that looks different already. I see how it's not underlining everything in red in Flex.
Yeah.
That tells you that it's viewing that text differently. Can you take that back out? Just plop it in the URL bar before you transfer it. Should get rid of that weirdness. Right. So, dear viewer, as you're learning to use Flex, you may encounter some little glitches like this. There's a community to reach out to. You can find us on Twitter. I suppose this YouTube channel. But please don't give up hope. What I want to say. There's some little quirks to it, but it's still worthwhile to keep at it.
Until somebody comes along with something better than Flex, which
Could be you.
Flex has been going for a long time now, and there's been a lot of talk of replacing it. In fact, I think Tyler and I were talking about this a little bit after our last meeting. I know people who were more or less their PhD project was to create a better version of Flex, and it turns out, I guess, it's not that easy, and so people aren't having as much luck replacing it as you might think. But I do hope that somebody watching this channel can do it. But one of the reasons we like Flex is that if you are working on your language or a language that you are helping with, and you have limited resources, Flex is out there for free. So that's one of the reasons we picked it. All right, so we'll just go to paragraph 7. That looks like enough for us for now.
I'll get some more.
And this will be where we'll pull our translations from here. So we'll go back and we'll start in the gloss. We'll start putting some of our translations all the way up to the last one. All right, so we don't even have paragraph 3 translated in here yet. Should we get started on that?
Let's do that next, yeah. So for those of you maybe seeing this for the first time, we've input a text in the baseline here in Flex, and then we can view it in a couple different sort of levels of resolution. In the gloss, you can see a lot of gloss view there, that tab. You can see you got 4 lines there at the size you have. When we go to analyze, we'll have more detail for each word, but you'll see correspondingly less of the text. Oh, no. It's not
okay, so Beto Zaparanga. Then he spoke. It does look like Beto is looking more and more like a transition word, like then.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I believe it's the last word of the text, oddly. Yeah. The very last word is mbeto.
Well,
And then,
won't spoil it.
okay. Have a bit of suspense on it.
So this is Zagua is untranslated. But we know it means he said, so we're just gonna leave it blank for now.
Or we could put it in square brackets the way we did before.
Yeah.
One nice thing about Flex, by the way, is if you're working on a language and you want to prepare something for publication, it's real easy to generate the kind of extract you want for your work from this
Yeah,
file.
so Flex has an option to print off your whole texts and put it in print view, as you can see right here. And you can also print off your lexicon, and you can choose what it shows.
That's right.
So you go to analyze and you pick which ones you want to show, or you can do it right here. You can pick hide, for example, or show it. But one of the problems I think that it has is that, how did it lose my place so quickly? Oh, because I went down and found another one.
Yeah, whenever you're not on a particular word, it'll do that.
One of the problems I think that Flex does have, though, is that the print view is pretty time consuming to format it to like how you would want it in a paper. And it's rarely, the glosses are typically not aligned very well. And it will always have these headers like word gloss, etc. on every single line, which gets cumbersome. However, if you're slick with Python programming, I believe it's somewhat trivial. I had a student who did it. It is somewhat trivial to get it working, meaning that you can use Python to adjust it and it'll fix the whole document. So you will train Python, look for, say, this number, or look for word, delete this much to it, delete these things. And this isn't a programming course, but that's how it would go. So what's going on here is I'm kind of looking at the end of the words. So here I'm looking for Rawa.
Before we go on, at the end of 3.7, we have ngarigua. We know that the say verb is there, and then ngari, pretty sure, is the word for they. Let's go ahead and approve that.
Let's go back and look for. So here we have Ari, plural. Okay, so
we also have nge, meaning they, in 1.4. They or them. Could be a fusion of those, nge and ari, ngari. QE.
Hard to know, because it could also be a dropped subject. Right. So in many languages, when a subject is known, then you don't say it. So Japanese is an example of such a language.
So what we're struggling with is the nge there. We think it's third plural, but is it marking the subject or is it marking the object? Because it's they are cooking them over an open fire.
Yeah. So I think Ari is an article for plural.
Okay.
And I would say, I mean, I don't know, but I would guess gay is a subject particle. Because we've seen like these noun phrases seem to go after verbs. Right? So it exists, the giant.
Yeah, that's right.
Now this says Ranemaka, but it's one day, and then we get this, here's the noun phrase after all the verbs. So it does look like oftentimes there are verb initial things, at least in intransitive contexts, but also there is a subject marker before the verb. There's a pretty good, although there's no subject mentioned in here.
Oh, let's identify that past marker that you had identified there in 2.6, the 2.
You want to just go ahead and put this in gloss for now, or you want to analyze?
Let's put it in the gloss for now.
You think this is past tense?
I was pretty convinced. I did some checking when you suggested that, and it checked out.
So my instinct is, I don't see past tense very common in Oceanic. What I see is perfect. Now we don't have a way to test this currently, so we can put past. But we may run into evidence that it works better as perfect.
What's the difference, Peter?
All right, I'm glad you asked. I was actually just about to explain it. So,
Are you able to input text while you're explaining it? Kill two birds here.
No, probably not.
Okay.
Oh, I probably have to do one or the other. So, perfect is an aspect and past is a tense.
Of course.
Past tense means something that happened before, and that's kind of it. You don't have information about the completedness of the event. Now, there are many types of aspect if you look into it, and the aspects get more and more fleshed out the more and more a particular language uses aspect. So a good example in English of a combination of tense and aspect is I will have I will have had 3 cups of ice cream by the end of the day, right? So it's future, perfect, past, etc., mixed all together.
Had.
So have is usually, or had is usually how we do perfect in English. So that was a confusing one. I should have said, I will have eaten 3 cups of ice cream, and then you could see it a little more clearly. So he ate the leg. That's what we're getting here. But maybe it's he has eaten the leg. Right.
You know what? Maybe let's do, and let's go to analyze real quick for this. Let's link those two words together, ganitu, and that will make sense. Right. What's our criterion? Do we want to link things together so it makes sense for English? I'm thinking let's chain rani and tu together. So you'll have to go to rani for that. And then chain it, and that'll be the word ate in English. And then we can put tu in the lexicon as perfective marker.
Let's put 2 in first.
As you wish.
So my understanding is there's a difference between perfective and perfect.
Perfect.
But I'm not pointing out that difference because I don't remember off the top of my head what the difference is. I just ran into it before using perfective when somebody's like, hey, you know, perfective and perfect are different things. So I'm just going to call this PFT, which we're going to use for perfect.
Verbal particle seems like a good label.
I think it's probably a verbal particle, but we'll go ahead and give a look and see if there's any other thing that's likely. Now, they have many types of particles.
Yes.
I think it's going to have to be verbal particle, and we don't have a better option than that.
Yeah, that was gray because it's already in our list. Yeah. Now before you create, go to the second line where it identifies the morpheme type. I don't think it's a stem. There, I would call that maybe a
particle.
Yeah, let's call that a particle there too. Particle is a tough term to define, but I don't know what unites all the particles I know about is that they don't inflect. They don't carry. There's no systematic variation in form. Let's give it a lower.
We lost
yeah, that's right. These things need to be redone. Can you put in a lowercase g in the purple line?
Yeah, unchain it right quick. Okay, so
it remembers that it's done it, but then when you link it, it sort of resets. So put in a lowercase g for the rani, and then you'll need to put in that it has a suffix e, which just is invisible. So what I recommend is you write the I first. Oh, yeah, that's an issue.
Weird way to do it.
Well, it just has to guess, and sometimes it gets it wrong. And then if you just go after the letter I there and hit space, it'll do a search for it.
Yeah, but it's not.
We haven't identified it.
We haven't identified it. So
how firm are we on this?
No, actually, I don't think that there's any. I may have said that last week, but I disagree now.
All right, good.
So I think what it is the reason we're not seeing any agreement for the object there is that, so we might see gani iya, but you notice we also don't see a particle for karusu, and it's weird for it to not be with its na. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
It's weird because a lot of the noun phrases we're seeing, there seems to be obligatory particles that don't even mean definite or indefinite.
But that kind of, the question I was about to ask might have some bearing on that. That following word, ngeguni in 2.6, that might have a similar function to the na. We have a ni instead of na.
Perhaps.
So that
What about Gani tu Livona?
for Ganitu, let's input in the word gloss line 8. So in 2-6, either one. Let's link them. Oh, let's do this. Yeah. There, put in 8 and then approve all. Either place, it should work. But okay, but that other one was already
No, it did it. You just had to click on it. It was just
okay. Super interesting that it's a different color. All right. Hope that's nothing to worry about.
All right. So what
So
my prediction is here
mm,
is that this is a type of noun incorporation. No,
what's a
so-called.
type?
So first I'll tell you what noun incorporation is, though I know that you know, but dear listener, you may not. Noun
Where
incorporation
being it though?
happens when a noun is essentially compounded with a verb. In English, an example might be,
Truck drive.
yeah, I would say, I hunt pigs, and pigs is the object of hunt. And
To
you
be
could
clear,
say something like,
that's not the noun incorporation. That's a phrase.
I hunt a pig, I hunt the pig, I hunt pigs. In that case, pig is an object in all of those. But if I say, I went pig hunting, now pig is part of the verb. Pig hunting is its own verb, and the noun is incorporated in the verb, right? So
Yeah.
what I think is going on here is something called pseudo-noun incorporation. Now, pseudo-noun incorporation is like noun incorporation, but not really. That's what pseudo means.
Pseudo means lying.
Well, in this case, I'm not calling it a liar. I'm just saying that it isn't true noun incorporation. One of the reasons you can know is this two is coming right between them. This two is coming right between it. But I believe that it is, one way to put it, removed from the transitivity calculus. So the reason you don't get object agreement anymore is it's not an object anymore. It's part of the verb complex.
Okay.
So an object is also part of the verb phrase. So verb phrase is a term sometimes used inaccurately in linguistics. No, if you're a syntactician, you've probably never used it inaccurately, but I'm using the syntax definition. If you have studied typology of oceanic languages, many people use verb phrase to refer to all the things that go with the verb, including all these particles. But we're not using it that way. We'll call that whole thing the verb complex. So I'm guessing karusu is part of Gani there, and that there is no agreement because there's no more syntactic object. As for the he ate, now we have an idea that ngehu is a metaphysized version of rengu, and we saw this with tangu right there, mine, right? So, and we might even want to make a lexical entry for tangu instead of breaking it down.
Yeah.
It's transparent. It's a cupboard meaning you can see cup and board and guess what it used to be, but nobody says cup board anymore. You memorize it as one thing, its own word, cupboard. And that's probably what's going on here with tangu, gehu. But I can barely say it wrong and studied Roviana too long. So I'm going to leave this for now because this knee here seems interesting to me, and I think we should find that somewhere else and see what it is doing.
Okay.
Before we try to solve it. So do you want to keep trying to enter more translations or solve a few more words first?
Let's put in more free translations there to
okay, we have another knee right here, by the way. Where did you find it?
Bikuni. So pai, we have a good Hawaiian cognate for that, I believe.
Really?
Potentially. Hea and pehea, they just feel.
What does that mean in Hawaiian?
Hea is where, pehea is how.
Pea is where?
HEA. I suspect a cognate. I'm certainly no expert. Smells like cognac to me.
That smells like a cognate to me too, and I didn't know about it. I had a different guess for the Hawaiian cognate for what I believe this is, and I do think this is where. So
we can do a quick check. Let's show, yeah. Before you create that, let's go over to that spreadsheet. Some of you, if you've watched our earlier episodes, you'll have seen us do this. But if you could just, Peter, go over, yeah, there. Do a quick search for that string of letters. PAE. I see one there in line 21.
I just can't find mine.
To do is you hit Control F. This is simply Google Drive. So the Google Sheet is what they call this. We have 5 hits.
Where did
And
you
then
take
we
it from?
look.
Where we took this fish.
Yep. See what it says in the English
That
next
is
to
the
it.
case. So now you get it. My 3 grandchildren, she said.
So now where did you get that? Yeah. If we find where in each instance in the English, it's a pretty good indication. Look
We're
there.
a bye Zagwa. But where, he said.
But where?
Undeniable evidence in this case. So I'm going to make this lowercase, then put in our create new entry.
Yeah.
Hi, and we're going to call this where. And this is another question particle.
Oh, it's good to have those. Those are some of the most important words.
So there is some interesting stuff going on with P and M in Oceanic. So I actually predict there's also this Hawaiian one, Ma. So like
just MA?
Yeah, Makai is the ocean side, towards the ocean. Mauna, towards the inside. And so this Ma is a bit of a locative type thing, and I bet that the Pa will do something like that in this language. Or maybe it's a Ma. I mean, there's some sort of MP correspondence. And in my experience in Western Solomons, there's switcheroos. Some languages use P, some use M, and it's fossilized, but maybe at one time it was alternating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Since we're analyzing Ganoqa on its own, not as a comparison of other languages, we should be okay just figuring out Ganoqa for its own sake without worrying too much about what other languages do. Now, this one's a mouthful. Well, we've seen Azai 100 times. So I'm going to go ahead and search our document for Azai.
Okay, it's everywhere. Probably to find more than 20. 13.
Yeah. I think we're going to get so and then for most of them. Let's go ahead into the first one. So when they'd been whatever, and it smelled so good. In this way, the giant dragged it out and ate it.
There we have Azai and Beto together.
Yeah, and we're thinking Beto means then or so or something like that. Then they said, Beto, then put your hand inside the hole. Azai, so he went.
Now in line 23 there, it's not that first word. The Azai occurs
Then.
about halfway. Yeah. Oh.
So then is twice there. We're getting both Beto and Azai a lot for then. And sometimes it's not even included in the translation. Here it is as and in this line 25. But I do feel pretty confident it's like a so, the kind of transition word we use in English a lot. So then I went to the store. So I got ice cream.
Look at that. All right, lines 24 following in the spreadsheet, there's been a duplication error.
Line 24 in the spreadsheet?
Yes, see, compare the Ganoqa with the line, with the cells below it.
24, 25, 26 are all.
Yes, we've had a little error there.
Maybe you fix that in the doc.
Let's see what the doc says. Yeah, it's just repeated over and over. All right, so that needs to be repaired.
Is that the case in the real text?
No.
I don't think so. There is it. Did we do it here in our Ganoqa stuff?
Well, that needs to be repaired also. I'm just gonna. So that's one. Yeah, just one faulty keystroke there will mess you up like that. So I'll work on that. Can you input some more translations where it is actually valid?
Okay, I'm gonna fix the translations for a second while Tyler fixes the wording. It may not be easy to see what Tyler is fixing. Because we're going to be looking at putting in the translations.
Keep your eyes peeled at all times, dear viewers.
I think we're just about at the point where. Yeah, so we're at the paragraph where we need we'll do the first sentence.
So what we can do, what you can do while I'm preparing is do some more word hunting, I suppose.
Yeah,
you don't want to.
That's what I'm going to do.
All right.
Put our first translation here because the first translation is correct. Okay, so I'm going to make this full screen. Let me know when you're ready and we'll fix our baseline.
Yeah, computer's just being a little slow.
No worries at all. All right, so we're gonna go back to gloss so we can look at a bunch of things at once. We're not gonna worry about the azai for now. All right, so here we have beto aza, and we have to wonder, is aza different than azai? I think it probably is, but I don't know, because there we've got azai za, and za we've already decided is the third singular kind of particle. So let's go back up and have a look, see which words we may have missed. And we think beto and azai mean then or so. We could gloss both of them as then, or one is then and one is so. I will follow and find it, eat some. Looking back over some of the sentences we've done before. You got it done?
No, I got the first one there. Repaired. Happily, these were the thing that tipped me off, by the way. If you want to go back to that spreadsheet view real quick. The thing that tipped me off was that the English ones were quite short, but the Ganoqa text was quite long. So there seemed to be a mismatch. So it was just the length of the thing. So these sentences that got falsely replaced were real short ones. Okay. So it'll just be a minute.
This is seke seke ziu.
Muria.
Ki gari, seke seke ziu. So there we have gari as they again. That's very convincing that gari is a third person plural subject particle. There
Okay,
so
paragraph 4 is restored, I believe. And this is why I recommend, you see those leftmost columns here in the spreadsheet.
Is it restored here as well?
No, not yet.
Let's do that right quick.
That'll just be a second. Those leftmost columns, I've got the page number there and the paragraph number. This is a very short text. The longer the text, the more valuable these things are, that you can find your place and retrace your steps like
pretty
that.
Valuable in this text too. It's pretty useful to see this kind of thing, especially once you want to untie a mistake. Now you might think that you're going to do a analysis of a text and not make mistakes, but you should plan to. Don't make mistakes intentionally, but expect that you will, and try to have an organization in hand that will, exactly as Tyler did, help you untangle a knot as quickly as possible. There's going to be mistakes. That's okay. That's normal. Even if you do known planning, as long as you solve the mistake, it's fine. But this mistake could have taken us weeks to solve if we hadn't had careful. We wouldn't have noticed it. We wouldn't. Then we would have had to go back and find our place.
Be like Hansel and Gretel and leave little breadcrumbs that you can retrace. All right. So paragraph 4 is restored in both of those documents.
All right. I'm going to take just these.
Yeah, just from the
sentences, replace them in flex so it doesn't mess with. We've already got going on. So 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, right.
There we are. We've got multiple
azai
again and again and again. So I'm going to take everything but the first one.
Those of you who know about genetics might recognize what's happened here. Duplication error is something that happens in our genome as well.
All right, let's go back to
everybody. Now, still got duplication in the baseline there. You go back. That paragraph that you're on, it matches the one above. Tekuria, ngoto, roto. So that one that you have started there, that is all nonsense. That can go. Just take that out if you would. Right? How it ends in raua. So just a couple backspaces.
Just double checking before I get rid of it. Okay, that should be good. Let's go back to our gloss and see how it looks. Now, since I deleted where we're at. So that was the sentence we just did. Then we have these short ones, and that'll get us right back to we can start putting in these translations. And we've looked at the language enough now. Looks like we've got 10 minutes left in our meeting, so we'll be wrapping it up in 7 minutes. But we'll do 2 short recordings. It would be no problem at all.
Good.
All right, so let's put in a few more of these translations before we start our next video.
I wonder if I is a contraction of azai or there. Because this one is just I, but it's and so they bid him.
I suspect I is a contraction of azai, and that some high frequency word like that with a fricative in between vowels, it's kind of. So we just did, so they went to look for them. So the next thing should be, and so they bit him. Let's make these manageable sized. I'm going to move this over a little bit so we can
Oh,
see everything once.
yeah. So what you can do, I was inputting, what was I doing? I was copying from that just now, so I made the columns nice and wide. But if we make these narrower, then we can see more at a time. That's something you can do without too much risk of destroying your data.
Next one is ma.
I'll come tomorrow and kill them, he said.
Well, these giants don't play around.
That's right.
Did you know
Okay.
that there's still reports of giants in the Solomon Islands?
I did not.
And I saw that there's a website run by a foreigner, an Australian former military person, if I understand correctly. And they report about giants being there. I did not see any giants while I was in the Solomon Islands. But what I will say is I don't necessarily not believe people who tell me they've seen stuff. And if you go out there, you'll realize that you don't know what's going on. You might think you understand how the world works, but how the world works in a metropolitan area like North Texas is not how it works in the reef and rainforest environment of Solomon Islands. Solomon Islands has the most, because it is like 1,000 different islands, it has the most islands where only this bird species exists on this island of any country. So there is a lot of unknown stuff out there. And for a less fantastic...
Hold on, Peter.
Have I gotten off?
Yeah, there's a, let's see, they gave him, see how in 5.7 in Flex, the sentence ends at Leaziu, and that is going to be the next line in the spreadsheet. Azai, because there's a comma there. So it's a little bit covered up, but in Flex 5.7.
Yeah, I'm going to call this, I'm going to just put the translation right after it.
That's right. That's what you should do. Add a space there if you would.
Yeah, and I'm going to make it into a comma like it is in the...
Let me just double check. So that kind of an error is one that it easily makes when you go from that, when you grab from the PDF. And so, my Becky, that is page 6. The first one on that page. Let me see. I'm just going to double check what they actually have in the PDF. I scan. Okay. That's a comma. And then in the English, they gave him some. That is a period. Oh, I like that food. Okay, I think we're good. A little discrepancy. Now, whenever Flex hits a period, it's going to give you a new line. And that's what caused that difference. Those sentence final ones, question marks, exclamations, periods.
You've done a similar thing here with 6.3, where it's really broken it into two things, but it's pretty clear what it is. Hey, they've killed me. Hey, I'll not live. And Toa, I'm guessing here is live. Now, one of the interesting things is that we don't get the third plural agreement all the time, do we? The subject agreement.
Well, you mean the verb in 6.3? We have
so we don't listen gay.
Ziu.
Ziu, I'm guessing is me. We've seen this before.
Me.
Okay. And then this gay, we get it sometimes and not other times. Now look at this Toa. I believe Toa is live.
I believe so too. I could buy that.
Can you check the cognate with? Can you guess the cognate from Hawaiian?
Well, knowing nothing about the vowel situation, I would suspect to be koa.
That's correct.
With a K.
So Hawaiian had a T to K. They've only got one example in this whole text, so it's not going to help us very much. I only got one example in the whole text, but my guess is live is Toa. And Koa, so Toa can mean alive or strong or something like that.
How are we on time?
We've got 4 minutes left.
Okay.
So I'm going to pause here right at 6.4. And this will be today's video. But if you, dear viewer, keep watching, we'll start right back up here.
I got a message from